So
Yeah, yeah.
so for our PSS approved slash discussion, because it wasn't like a unanimous thing, and I think it's one of those things where like it's more of a, are we giving this a thumbs up, or were we just like more impressed than we thought we were gonna be? It is the Devil May Cry anime that just launched on Netflix.
Oh my goodness!
Now we've had our discussions in the group chat. Tim and I
I'm
seem to be
ready.
more on the same page than Dory
I'm ready.
was. Huh?
I'm ready.
But I want to open up for a discussion. Like, I mean, I will say,
I want to go first.
yeah. So actually, let me go first, only because I'm like, I know the least compared to you two guys. So I'm like, I can understand any of the feedback or negative feedbacks to someone that's more of a fan than I would be. From what I know of Devil May Cry, especially that it's set in a different universe, it was good to me. And that's all I got to say about that. Like, I enjoyed more than I disliked about it personally. So, Tim, take it away.
Okay. I will say my pros and cons. My pros is this. I do feel like this is a good way for Capcom to actually course correct the series. Because first of all right, when you really understand Devil May Cry series, like the original timeline, it's a very messy story. Because first of all, okay, you're telling me that he's this demon hunter amongst humans, but in every single game, he's in an isolated place. Oh, Dante went to this island to fight this demon. Oh, Dante went to that island. Dante went to that island. It's like, so is he like Dante of the Caribbean? Like, so where's the collateral damage? And then, in the one game, you had this big bloodborne looking Isk, and then you did it again with the last game. You made the story about as a brother versus brother rivalry, and then you kind of kill off one brother in a way, but then you find out he has some bastard child out there, and you try to make him the new character. Oh, but people didn't like that, so you bring back the brother again, and then okay, oh yeah, but then you make the son Mega Man to make him fight different. So this was definitely Capcom's way of okay. Because I do foresee that the way Devil May Cry 5 ended, you could leave it right there. That is a good standoff placement where you could just end it right there. And
I don't know.
I'll say they probably won't, but
you could potentially reboot the series. Now, yes, the reboot, there was some issues with it, but there were some good plot points as well. But then there was also some points that they wrote themselves into a hole. Like one of the biggest things about the reboot was they were not half devil, half human. They were half devil, half angel. They were Nephilim. So I was thinking, okay, so does that mean heaven will eventually get involved? So now you're dealing with two celestial forces. You're dealing with the demon realm and then you're dealing with the heaven realm. So like it kind of was giving me like vibes of Mortal Kombat, like chaos and order.
Mm-hmm.
But then of course, people weren't receptive to it, so it just got botched and thrown out. Now, to get back to this anime, okay, I like the Devil May Cry 3 Dante's Awakening vibe. Okay, I get that. I did not like the fact that he did not know he was half demon. I felt that was a poor choice.
A little unnecessary to like.
Yeah, it's like, bro, so you mean to tell me you just randomly think you could just do all this stuff?
Regenerating from a head wound is nothing.
Like come on,
what?
Like, come on, bro. And then the whole fact that he didn't know Virgil was alive, because I was like, all right, that was a bit off. It was a bit off, but I understood it. I understood it because, first of all, like, all right, when you understand the true Devil May Cry 3 game, I was like, oh yeah, Virgil, we haven't seen each other in years, but let's fight. But then my thing about it is, I feel like what they did with this one, that he thought Virgil was dead, that it adds a bit more mystery of he wants to find Virgil, but Virgil ain't really checking for you. Because it makes sense. Like, he was captured by Mundus as a young age, and he was molded by Mundus for so many years that, yes, the next time we fight, bro, is to the death. So I understood that part to a degree. I did like the fact that the human world now has more influence. Like the Kevin Conroy, Christian warmonger. I was like, bro, this makes sense. Oh yeah, because God said it. God said it, and you are here because God ordained it. It's like, yes, bro. Like when you really understand how a human world would react to stuff like that, that is exactly how. Like, what is the first thing you're gonna do if you're fighting demons? You're gonna go the Christian route
and weaponize religion for sure,
and weaponize religion for what you need to do. Okay, now here's one of the biggest cons, but also pros. Honestly, this is the biggest lady's personality has ever been. And that's Capcom's fault. Because, first of all, once again, your storytelling is all over the place. Lady did not come into the third installment, but then you did such a heavy, big prequel, which is the best one out of all of them, that you basically solidified her as Dante's first partner. But Devil May Cry 1, no mention of a partner. Devil May Cry 2, you just keep bringing in all these different female protagonists who has a big influence on him, but you just made this girl his first partner.
Good point.
Okay.
Good point.
Let's get, all right, the timeline is back on course. Devil May Cry 4. She's a cutscene character. His partner. A cutscene character. Both of them. Just like they just there. Devil May Cry 5. Oh yeah, they fight him in this big boss battle in the beginning, but then they just get off screened. Well, not dead, off screen. They get captured, and then they just get turned into artificial demons, and you set them free, and then they just become cutscene characters again. So it's kind of like
no DLC.
Like, what are you doing with these characters? Now, her story, I'll give it a thumbs up. That actually makes a lot of sense because, to be honest, bro, I did not want to see her father as the villain of like how he was in Devil May Cry 3. I feel like the way they did that story of what he did, that was perfect for me. Now, the Jarhead elements of her, I didn't like. Too much cursing. Too much. Like, they made her a Resident Evil character. That's how I feel. But then that's also another Easter egg. Apparently, Devil May Cry and what happened in Raccoon City are a shared universe. So I guess Capcom is making their own shared universe.
Are you serious?
It was quirky. Do I want to see it? No. Just
please,
you can keep it as an Easter egg. You can keep it as an Easter egg. You can keep it as an Easter egg, and we'll just like hockey key and just keep it going. But yeah, I didn't like the Jarhead elements. I did not like the Jarhead elements, but I understood her as a Jarhead character. Because remember what the Right Rabbit said about orphans, you've lost everything. So that means you could be molded by anything else. Because even when she knew, like, supporting Kevin Conroy, like, Christian warmonger was wrong, she still did it because it's programming. This is all she knows. This is the only thing that drives her. So, like, well, when she betrayed Dante, she's going to feel bad for it. And to be honest, I feel like they're also trying to retcon too, but also still keep too relevant because, like, Jory, you saw at the beginning, Lucia was there. But I was like, but wait, she's not part demon? Like, she's just a regular person? But then you realize at the end, they hinted the villain in hell. Remember the Ouroboros Corporation? You saw the villain. The little Latino guy, he was right next to Kevin Conroy. Like, I was like, wait, that's the dude. So I guess they're trying to, like, mold different elements from each game in it. Like, to be honest, the villain choices, they were great to me. Like, yes, one person.
As a casual viewer, I like the rabbit. I don't know.
The rabbit was great. He was great. The other side villains, they made sense. One of them was a bit far-fetched, but you could easily retcon that story. Like Cavalier Angelo. See, basically, they're saying Cavalier Angelo was created after, Nello Angelo, which is Virgil, like a Dark Knight modeled after his style. But to be honest, that could easily be retcon. Like, let's just say, oh, he's one of the Knights of Mundus. And it could work. It could honestly work. It could honestly work. You got two iconic ones from Devil May Cry 3. You have one iconic one from Devil May Cry 1. You have the most iconic one that we got from Devil May Cry 4, which was the little grass Pokemon dragon demon. And Cavalier Angelo, it worked. Now my biggest drawback is like, so where are the devil arms, Dante? Like, you kind of hinted it when you was doing the motorcycle chase, when you took Agni, and like, no, bro, those are supposed to be your swords. And that was the style of Dante that I really liked. Like, You can, even when the little the troopers say that, like, oh yeah, there's different classifications of demons. Like, okay, if level 4 demons, every time you defeat them, you get a gift. So like you're killing some of these people, but where are the gifts? Like you even hinted it in the motorcycle chase when he slapped them with the motorcycle. Like, no, Cavalier Angelo was supposed to be your motorcycle because that's what happens in the game. Like when you defeat him, he turns into like a heavy metal motorcycle, and you get it as a devil arm. So it's your motorcycle, but also a weapon. And then, you know, so when Lady killed Echidna, maybe she could have got a weapon because in one of the games she actually does get a devil arm for defeating a high level demon. And it's like that's part of the Devil May Cry flair. That's just I kind of feel like you kind of just botched. But the overall story, very cohesive. Even when they did the villain's backstory, like bro, that whole episode of no dialogue until the end, that was beautiful. Like you're so tuned in. Now the end, I didn't like he turned into a hulking monster. I was like, bro, please don't turn into a hulking monster. Because I feel like he has such a finesse. Like I felt like real talk, he had a very a quirky Eisen like finesse to me. I felt like he should have been like more like a chimera type of demon, but like still kept that very sleek demeanor. Like when he took off his mask and he had the little green hair drip with the open heart, like that was a vibe to me. That was a vibe. He was legit to me. So yeah, bro. I mean, honestly, I do feel like it's a lot of course correction. They're trying to make better sense of this story. Now, yes, there were certain parts that just didn't kind of make sense, but hopefully they fix it for season 2, because especially the devil arms. That's one thing a lot of people was talking about. Like, yo, like, why are you skipping over all of his weapons? And then the whole fact that his weapons break. I'm like, no, bro. There's no way you're telling me in the midst of a fight he's breaking his guns. Like last time I checked, aren't those like wasn't those gifts from his father? Like,
but those aren't those same guns from what I understand.
Yeah, that's not ebony and ivory.
Yeah, those aren't those. So he hasn't got them yet.
Fix it, because that was kind of like a weird drawback to me. Is like, huh? But like I said,
or even the motivation for his devil trigger, I was like, this doesn't seem, from what I know, I'm like, this doesn't seem accurate at all.
Did it work? It did.
It did.
It worked. It worked. It worked. Like I said, there were some parts where I was like, yeah, bro, y'all kind of like trying to stretch this a little bit. But overall, I gave it a solid 8 out of 10 for course correcting alone. Now, I hope, you know, they take the success of this, tune it up a little bit. But I do believe this is Capcom's way of trying to course correct some of the stuff that they did. Because you got to hold them responsible, bro. Capcom in this whole story, oh no, part 3 is actually part 1. Part 2 is actually part 5. Like, no, bro, y'all got to stop doing that. Y'all need to sit down and have a Marvel scale roadmap of what the story that y'all want to tell.
And stick to it.
Because to be honest, bro, I did like the fact of seeing more of him and Lady's relationship grow. Like, bro, the girl put a Suicide Squad bomb in your neck. And to see you heal from that was actually pretty cool. Like he was literally about to bust a cap at like jackpot and just like, boom.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was cool to me.
I thought it was a pretty good series. I'm not going to hold you. Like, I'm like, for to your point, Tim, where Capcom's very, like, let's just say, schizophrenic storytelling with all their IPs. I'm like, if you want to streamline this, especially in an alternate universe, I don't really have too many complaints from a streamlining aspect. Again, character personalization, that's a fair critique, right? That's a fair thing of like, does this character feel like the character I played, right? Up for debate. But in terms of story, I'm like, this story was never cohesive. Just like Street Fighter, just like most Capcom properties. They retcon and retcon and retcon until it doesn't make sense. So, I'm with you on that. Like, story-wise, I'm like, I don't really have any issues personally. As a casual viewer, let me say.
Yeah. And even like the further expansion of the, the Makai, the demon world, I enjoyed that because you're giving everything more personality, and that's why I kind of feel like Devil May Cry as a story, as a series needed. Because, like I said, bro, every story. Oh yeah, Dante had to travel to this island. Like, no, bro, no more islands. We want collateral damage. Like, even in the beginning when the baby got swapped out, I was like, oh yeah, they just killed her kid, bro.
Mm.
It's collateral damage. Like, even in the car chase scenes, it's like, no, bro.
Well,
Like,
no, they didn't kill the kid because remember he can't impersonate somebody he's already murdered. So the baby's
well,
alive
but
somewhere.
remember, she didn't get her baby back. So
Yeah,
that
I
means
mean,
they threw
true,
the kid
but
somewhere.
oh yeah.
So it's the simple fact of the matter is like even the car chase scenes, like when all those cars was getting wrecked, it's like, oh yeah, I don't have time to save you all. I'm trying to kill him. So like you're seeing the collateral damage.
Mm.
Now, yes, the whole iconic Nero voice. I get why certain people are upset. I get it.
Yeah.
It's for nostalgic reasons. But did he do a good job? Yes, he did.
He did.
For
I
a
mean, of
younger
course he
Dante,
would.
he did. Because I also see them as a way of they're also trying to retcon Nero as well, which I do feel like they should. We don't need the nephew. We don't need the nephew. Like it's the same thing like what they did with Resident Evil. Like, oh yeah, like Resident Evil 6, Albert Wesker had a son. We don't care.
You gotta love the hidden child, hidden siblings, hidden just
like,
there's always
like
one in the tuck.
even in Devil May Cry 5, like oh yeah, Virgil, he's like, Nero is my son. Oh yeah, that was a long time ago. Like even just the daddy reveal was so bland. It's like this dude does not care that he has a kid. So like I said, bro, they're trying to course correct some things, and I do feel like that's where the reboot had a much bigger focus. It was about Dante and Virgil. Like to be honest, like the Nephilim version of Virgil, like yes, he was a douche. The design was not the best, but his mindset, bro, was very like sinister because like he almost had like a very Omni-Man personality. Because after when they defeated Mundus, it's like, okay, now it's time to rule them. It's like rule humanity. He's like, yeah, bro, like you do realize what they do with free will here, right? They just destroy. Like he looked at humans like, no, they're pets, bro. We are above them. We are two celestial beings bonded by blood. Like if I flick this girl in the head, her head comes off. We're gonna outlive her 4 times to 1. Why do you even care? Like it's basically like when dad was talking to his son, like think. She's gonna be collateral damage somewhere down the line because there's gonna be a next demon that's gonna come, and she might get eaten, bro. But us,
we're virtually unkillable, which I think it's makes for hard storytelling. I would say like that's a hard thing to write when a character like, basically can't die.
Yeah, and that's where I felt like that's where the reboot was kind of like, bro, that's actually a great strength, but like, where do you even go from there? It's like you're literally half angel, half demon. It's like, where do you go with this?
Yeah, you're unstoppable as a protagonist.
You're basically unstoppable. So, like I said, bro, it looks like course correction to me. Jarhead lady, give it some tuning, bro. But then honestly, this is the strongest her personality has ever been. And you can't be mad at that because that's Capcom's fault. Because a lot of the female characters that they just sideline them, like, you brought in a demon that took on the shape of his mother. And, it was cool. But then she just became a glorified side character. And that's what you did for all of them. Even Lucia, like bro, like Lucia is just a cutscene in the beginning, bro. So she doesn't play a pivotal role, or you just getting rid of Lucia? I mean, but technically they got rid of her in the games. Lucia is basically like the launch of Devil May Cry. Like she just randomly just disappeared.
She's the Uncle Ben of the hero story. They gotta put him in, but they don't gotta be involved.
Yeah, I mean, Jory, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I'll say Jory steaming.
I mean, I thought it was okay. I don't like it more than I like it. I don't think Capcom is trying to. I think it's just a bunch of random stuff that Addy Shankar probably looked on a list and just checked off and said, "Let's make this an amalgamation." It does not feel intentional. It just happened to work for the people who aren't involved or are doing imaginary fill-ins. That's what to me it felt like. I did not feel because there's certain things to me that didn't make sense if you really wanted to reboot. Like, why would you number one, why would you even change the voice actor for Dante if you really wanted to reboot and trying to because it's
Uh,
the ultimate parallel universe thing to me is just a scapegoat for you to break certain certain rules of not being cohesive, you know.
But the story is not cohesive.
but see,
No, no, no,
that's
but
what I'm
the
trying to
thing
say,
is,
bro. Like,
the thing is, okay, so if I'm gonna do three, let me just start off from three and then make it make sense along the way. That's just a no-brainer
but
if
then,
I'm gonna
bro, they
do that.
can't do one for one. They
No,
can't
I'm
do
not
that.
asking for you don't have to do a one for one. Like this is where you hired me as a millionaire dollar creative and I could change some things along the way and like, oh, okay, this is not quite like how I remembered it, but that's fine. Oh, that's okay because it's an animation interpretation. Um, I don't think he purposely did. I think that's why he did what he did, and that's why it came out the way it did because he wanted to have his own liberties on how to, direct or how to go about the storyline. One, I didn't like. I don't have a problem with Johnny Young Bosch, but you should have just did a Nero story if that was the case. You
Mm,
understand?
No,
I don't think.
I
Uh,
understood it from a Hollywood perspective why they chose that voice actor
yeah.
because it kind of,
So
especially when you think of a younger Dante. Like, 'cause to be honest, like if they would have chose him as an actor, if when the original Devil May Cry 3 Dante's Awakening when it came out, people would have accepted it because it fits. It fits. His voice actor, it kind of does fit. It really does. It kind of does.
I think you should have just hired the
Is
original
that person
actor.
even alive? Because,
Yeah.
bro, you gotta also realize, bro, some of these people, I
Yeah.
didn't
I
even
I
know Kisami's actor was dead
I
until
I
Anthony told me.
I know
mhm.
for a fact. His name is Ruben Landon. He did the voice of Ken from Street Fighter 4. Same actor. He's still alive. He did the choreography for a lot of the Power Rangers. He's alive and
Okay.
well. Yeah. I think they should have selected him because he was, to me, he's the reason why he's Dante through Dante 3 and Devil May Cry 4, which to me is the best version of Dante. I don't agree with you saying this is the best version of Lady because all the Lady you could have ever gotten was displayed best in 3. Yeah. The
No,
reason why I don't
no,
concur
come
with
on.
you and I strongly disagree with you is because what none of the evidence that you gave me is what makes her strong. Why do you say she's a strong character? Because with Lady from part 3, you had a whole character arc, right? And then yeah, you
Really?
did. You did have a
Really?
character arc. What was not good about it? What was not the
Bro, she's
character
like,
arc?
all right, yeah, all right. First of all, yes, I get
So
it. Like,
she
it
she
was
she she hated Dante, right? They fought a lot. They fought through just like how they did now. She had more character, more personality. She was angry, and then after towards the end, she wasn't angry. So when you meet her in 5, even though she's a side character, you see her
4 and 5,
personality.
a side
4 and
character.
5, she's a side character, which is fine. The story wasn't focused on them. It
No,
was
but see,
Nero's the
but bro,
protagonist.
that's once again, that's Capcom not following through. Because like I said, like, yes, she had a good personality for 3, but it didn't go anywhere. And that's what I'm saying. Overall, for
And
these 8 episodes, this
when
is
you
the
s-
strongest her character has ever been. Because
so
first of
where did her
all,
character go in this one, the
it
Netflix one?
actually had a few a bit more depth. Like it had a very cinematic, like, because when
What was
I
deep
look at
about
it,
her?
bro, it is a little bit realistic for me. Like, okay,
Hmm.
you're in this world that is occupied by demons that you're sharing with, and that's why I said the human world has a much bigger focus now. No more isolated island.
There
That's a
was a
one check for me.
I agree with you, but there was a better way, and you had different animes that did it better than it having a demon civilization from a different portal realm. You could have taken from Cowboy Bebop, you could have taken from Vash the Stampede, and you could have used that and kind of like, oh, okay, we got a demon faction here. These guys, okay, it's a little bit of the Wild Wild West. You could have pulled elements from Helsing that where they didn't have to go to they didn't have to pull. You
But
could have
then, Joey,
you
not
could have treated.
everybody pulls from other things, and then that's what I'm saying. Like,
I
bro, like, yes, the
I just
Jarhead
didn't.
stuff, I didn't like. I didn't like
Yeah,
the excessive cursing. I did not like that whatsoever. I did feel that was a very like they gave her kind of like a template
It was
now,
very
but then
cliche
I
in
would
that
say her
aspect.
story elements of like her father, her ambitions, and what drove her, that was much better. And I feel that that aspect of her has much more depth because first of all, like I said earlier, it's Capcom's fault. Like you yourself, like, because I get it, not everybody has Hideo Kojima's level of storytelling because till this day, there's still parts from Snake Eater that you see echo throughout the whole series because they planned it better. But then there were some parts that from Dante's Awakening that it was just Dante's Awakening and it just falls completely flat from there. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you built up this character just for you to just drop them. Like it's typical Capcom faction, bro. Like, like the big example is Anthony said, where's Yun and Yang? Oh no, but we gave you their cousin. We didn't ask for the cousin. Like, and that's what I said. It's Capcom's fault. It's Capcom's fault. It's genuinely their fault because they have these IPs, they build this stuff up, but then they don't know where to take it and they write themselves into holes. So yes, this is a person that is, using this IP to create an anime adaptation of it. And yes, there are some elements that you are going to be familiar with, but there were some parts of this anime that they did better than the actual games, bro.
which since we're at for me, I'm focused only on three as a collective versus this in
But you
because
can't
since in
you
the
can't do that.
beginnings,
Bro. You can't do that.
why not?
You can't box yourself in like that. And
I
that's
don't
where
think I'm
like
boxing. I'm comparing the two to where it's initially starting.
yeah, but just like I said, you're boxing it in
So
from that particular realm.
I think that's fair though. This is young Dante versus young Dante in the game. I think
I,
that's completely
I
fair.
would say it's not fair only from the perspective of like it would be fair if they were trying to do a story that is self-contained within the Devil May Cry 3 timeline. Like based from what I was hearing from you guys in the group chat and then what Tim was explaining, it's like it looks like they're trying to take a more pullback of like let's set up things for the entire Devil May Cry universe as opposed to
Yes.
one game. So to do that,
Yes.
you can't do a one for one because you're trying to you're world building basically in
Yeah.
this
Yeah, and
universe.
I think the world building with what they referenced and what they pulled from, I think having Agni and Rudra, which their backstories were actually way more intense than what you just turned them into Saturday cartoon villains.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll give you that. I'll
that
give you
was
that.
terrible. Even the Echidna lady, she came from a demon gate that Sanctus was using to power up the finished.
But the thing about it is that's once again like Devil May Cry universe versus the games. And that's where like, Anthony just said it perfectly. Like you kind of have to like look at it from that wider spectrum. Like it's like, yes, they
But
announced they come
is
from a demon world.
it's just like okay, but like at what point do like if I'm a fan, it just feels like because it's just like a fan of Dragon Ball Z fan got just they were giving him a blank check to create a Dragon Ball Z fan base universe, and we're witnessing this, and we're like, you did what with what? That
But
doesn't
then the
make
thing
any
about it
sense.
is if that ever does happen, we would be in the same speed. You would just have to look at it from what the universe they're creating versus the nostalgia that we know.
Which is
Yes,
kind of
they're
what's
using
happening with
nostalgia,
Toritora, right? Like we talk about Dragon Ball Super manga all the time. Like yes, Toriyama when he was alive was offering corrections, but this is Toritora's story. Susanoo
yeah,
Goku was a fan with a blank check idea. We all didn't
yeah,
like it because it was like this is such a departure from what we know. I don't think
yeah.
like it's not
Because
gonna
like, bro,
be.
like I said, like look how many retcons Super had, bro. The Patara earrings don't got like 3 retcons already, bro.
Yeah,
And a
I'm not
retcon to its
approved. This,
retcon.
I'm not. Hey, that's them boys the foolishness. If they ever ask me why didn't Devil May Cry do good? Devil May Cry 3 fell off. If they ever ask me why the animation is receiving such hate and Addy Shankar is not liked as well, I'll say I could tell you how they feel. I could tell you that none of the beats that he did or he added to were better or an improvement on. For some, it was because to me it gave me like a cliche it was a cliche. I'm like, dog, like I've seen this storyline before. Just because you put a Devil May Cry skin over it, it didn't feel unique to me. So I'm like, if I'm playing the game, right, and I see this, I didn't feel like this was hey, we're gonna rewrite the universe and to make it better. I don't the reason why is because they did was the Dragon Dogma. They only did this, and even Onimusha. That Onimusha had nothing to nothing that I'm like, yo, these are
Well,
none of the
Onimusha
game.
was very bland. It was very bland.
Yeah, so it's
It was
like
very
I'm
bland.
like, yo, I'm looking at this. This is just them doing a commercial so you could play their actual games. Because right after that, everything went on sale.
I mean,
Right?
But
No,
that means they won.
you
That
can't.
means they
Also,
which
you
won.
no, no,
can't.
no, no,
That's part
and
of the.
that's great. But I'm
Mm.
saying it's not because they really wanted to reconstruct the universe or write a. That's not why I don't feel like Adi
But I
Shankar
feel
just
like
took.
that's where they are going to try to go because honestly, bro, I do feel like the original timeline is done. I do feel
Mm.
like because when you really look at it, the way five ended is like, what more could you really want? And then, like how I said, bro, like they built some elements with this particular universe that does make sense because that's why I said Devil May Cry was always lacking because where are the consequences in the human world? And then the one time they did do that was with the reboot, but then people didn't like that for reasonable reasons.
Mm.
But it's like there was some strengths in that reboot that made sense. Where's the collateral damage in this human world? And it showed that. And then, once you open up the human world, it opens up different complexities, different forms of characters and how they grow and who they are. Lady is a human. Lady is a human who is traumatized because, one night, Bruce Wayne style, they were leaving the movies, and then of course a demon was in the subway and tried to eat them. Okay, and then the dad didn't feel like a man. So he's an alchemist. He studied because apparently, they have books on the supernatural. Like there are humans dealing with the supernatural. So how do I combat that? Yes, I'm splicing my DNA. And there was repercussions for that.
Mm.
And that turned into a horror story. And what do most people with trauma do? Join the military.
This is true.
They joined the
This is
military
true.
and she got molded into something else. Like, yes, like I said, I didn't like the Sonya Blade, Jarhead, let's kill them all type of stuff. But like the story elements with her was much stronger than the games did, and that is
I
Capcom's fault.
I I feel like and it's to me, I was like, did we play the same game? Because to
But see,
me,
that's the
part
thing, Joe.
three,
You're holding on to a tether. You're holding on to a tether.
it's not that I'm holding on to a tether. I'm like, okay, this from this groundwork, you should be able to make something better. If you're gonna do
And they did.
anything Devil May Cry, and in my opinion, no. Because what everybody's saying is good about it, I'm like, nah, that there's that could have been done better.
Well, they got a season two, so it did
Yeah,
something
because
right.
I'm
And
like,
no,
I
I
think,
mean,
too, like also to kind of compare it because it came out relatively recently as well. Like you compare something like this to Tomb Raider, where that Laura Croft didn't feel like Laura Croft to any of us. Like it's like you missed the mark on everything.
But
Like
first of all,
but
bro, I didn't even know it was connected until the games,
yeah.
until I saw the couple. Her friend who was getting married to the girl from Peru. I was like, oh, so this is connected to the games. I would have never known that.
So we've
I would
seen
have.
um,
what Mr. Mark truly looks like. Of like
yeah.
you just didn't do anything.
So so like back to Dante. Back to Dante. So why does he have to use devil arms? This is since this is his universe, right? Devil arms is a good idea, to your point. But if he decides not to include that, we're gonna be like, yo, bro, you dropped the ball with that. right? That's the whole thing about Dante's stick. How could you just drop that? And that's why I'm saying, like, okay, why would you accept that, but then not accept the fact that, okay, with Devil May Cry 3, the Timur Negru came out of the city. So it's
I
post-apocalyptic.
don't want islands.
No, it wasn't an island.
They've given us islands
It wasn't
for
an island.
4 games.
Part three wasn't an island. It was a destroyed
Yes, it
city.
was. It was an island. It was a tower on an island, bro.
No,
If
no,
you look
no.
at the actual bio,
It came
there's a
out.
tower on an island.
It came out of the ground in the city streets. I
Okay,
can
bro.
give you the cutscene. You're fighting in front of a strip club. The way to get to the thing, you have to go through an abolished city. You pass through a gate. It wasn't a part one was an island. Part three, you were in the middle of a city, a town with cars, motorcycles, strip
But did it
clubs.
have collateral damage? No. It was just bloodborne. And just like how you said, you don't like that. So like there was
And
no consequences. It's like, okay, a tower just comes out of nowhere and what happens to the humans?
now that's fine. They addressed that in part three, part five, but we're not gonna go to part five. We'll focus on three. For whatever reason, I'll just say that's budget. I'm saying I'll
No,
just
but,
say that's
but
budget.
what I was basically saying, like the issue with Devil May Cry is there's always these isolated areas. And that
I
is the
agree,
thing. And then maybe
100%.
because,
But
due to the technology around the time, well, actually, you can't even say that because you got Grand Theft Auto, but like, it's just like, yes, it's an isolated demon slashing world. But then in this story, no,
you
there are
had and
consequences.
no, and those consequences are fine. I'm not saying you don't have to have them.
Then you
I
also
think
have to
late.
include them in the story, Jory.
No,
And
I'm
that's
not.
the
Yeah,
thing.
okay, that's cool. So with this, you take the opportunity. Okay, you add your collateral damage. Lady's story is embellished because I think the only reason why you would say that is because you saw her childhood. Which, if you paid attention to, even in part three, she says that, and she does that. And they do it in an
Says
effective way
that
to
to
where you
do
don't have
what
to.
with it? To do what with it? To become a cutscene character.
But you're
And that's
looking
what I'm
at
saying,
this.
bro. Like,
But you're looking at
you got
this in
8
the.
episodes with her where it's fleshed out. You have one game with her just for it to fall flat. And that's it. And that, like I said, it's Capcom's fault.
Within those 8 episodes, you could 8 episodes game three, and you'll have a consistent
No,
story.
but see, that's where I go back to what I'm saying. You keep trying to box it into 3 and not the universe, bro. And that's what I said. These anime adaptations have made it very clear. We are going to use familiar elements.
I
Yes.
I
Are
still
we going to follow a one
and
for
that's the
one?
people's argument.
No.
With very little, Lady is still better than the one presented in Devil May Cry 4.
Okay.
That's what
Okay.
everybody's trying to say. You using a universal comparison, I don't think is fair because you've seen the incomplete body of work. I'm comparing it to their first season to what Devil May Cry 3 would be first season. Devil May Cry
And
3 would be
my thing
first
about it
season.
is, why do you even care when your own developer did not care? They didn't care to take Lady's story even further.
But I think that's the reason why that's not fair, because it's like, okay, these guys weren't thinking, they did not think how important their story
See,
would be
see,
later
didn't
on.
think.
They're trying
But
to
you know
get
what
the
they
game
did give
out.
us? They give us another blonde hair character, half demon, and that's what they did.
Essentially,
And yet,
you're trying to hold the anime to a standard that you should be holding Capcom to. That's
Yeah,
how I'm interpreting it. Of like, you're frustrated with the way that the Capcom has inconsistently treated this IP for years, because your definition of what a Devil May Cry 3 may be for you is going to be someone else's definition of what they think Devil May Cry 1 is for them.
and this
There's so many different approaches. The only thing that seems to be universal is that everybody dislikes 2. That's it. I've heard people say I hate 4. I've heard people
two
say I
is
love 5. So
two
like
is terrible.
it's hard to say like what is a definitive, all-encompassing version of these characters that most people will enjoy.
And it's like, it's for me, it's like, okay, so I'm building a universe, I'm referencing it, but like, it, it's like you retconning. Why would you retcon Burdoc's story when Burdoc's story was great?
but they did.
That's how I feel. They
But
did.
they did. They,
They did. And
they
so
did, bro.
I'm not And just because they did
They,
doesn't mean I
they
have
turned
to
him into
approve of that.
They
Jarrell
did
from
turn
I
into
don't have
Collateral.
to.
Jarrell. Mm.
I don't have to approve of it. And just because Addy's team, this Devil May Cry, didn't want to intake that doesn't mean it was great either. You had the perfect stories with Agni and Rudra. You had I don't know, out of all the female characters, you chose that one. She's like, you know how big she is for you to just like now turn her into a regular small snake. Like what? What are you doing?
Big enough that the own
She
developer
wasn't.
didn't do much with it. It goes back to it, like what we both said, bro. Like, yes,
No, I'm talking about she's big
she's
in size. Like as far as aesthetic, that was a huge enemy.
Yeah,
That
but
was a
they're not
huge.
going to do a 1-for-1 with that.
No, and I'm
yeah,
just saying that's a missed that was dumb. That's a missed opportunity.
yeah, like,
Back to what I
and I
was
admit
saying.
that, bro. There was some
Back to what I
missed
was saying with
opportunities,
those Cavalier being there. You had a problem with Cavalier being there. That didn't make any sense to you.
but it could have retconned, and I was open to that. I
And
was
how
open
he
to that.
died was trash. I'm like, really? Okay, Portal Slash, Doctor Strange. Okay, now let's go on to like a lot of those end like the bunny guy. Great feeling. Best thing that
Yes,
happened. Momentum ended there for me. What do you do with him? You transform him into Mr.
yeah,
Jekyll and Dr. Hyde.
yeah,
Terrible
Mm-hmm.
idea.
yeah,
Abomination.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
abomination. I'm
yeah,
always down for a real fight. Meh. Like, no, okay.
yeah.
I
He
kind of
lost.
wish he had just died when he fell into the ocean, not for nothing. Like
Yeah,
I think that
yeah.
would have
Yeah,
been a
like
perfect. Like, all right,
So that was
his
terrible.
part in
A
this is
lot of
over.
people, the reason why a lot of people don't like those fights were super iconic and amazing. And you could have easily gave yourself a dub, right? But just taking their lore and expanding upon it. But you didn't
I
do
wish they
anything that
did in certain areas. It's a half and half thing, man. There were some
nah,
areas
bro.
they did expand on that
The
was good.
demon immigration, the demon
Nah, it made
immigration
sense,
thing.
bro. It made sense. It
So
made
you,
sense
I mean, I
because you
could
got
tell
to realize, bro. Like
you
you're
favor
including
your
the
southern
human
back.
world this time, not like the games. The human world barely had any influence. Even in 4, which is the game that you saw the most humans, what did they do? Barely anything. They were just glorified collateral damage. Oh my gosh, Dante shot the Pope. And then it just went to Bloodborne esque atmospheres. Like, oh, there's nobody around suddenly. So, like I said, bro, like the immigration stuff, it did make sense because, all right, look at it. And this is where I feel like one of the strengths of the reboot was because in the reboot, Sparta and Mundus were brothers. Because remember, Virgil said the story like, yeah, he was betrayed by his blood brother Sparta. Okay, but let's just say, all right, he's a knight of Mundus. Your lieutenant betrayed you. Basically, like Shinji and Aizen, your lieutenant betrayed you. So now you are locked up in this. He's mad, and he has a bunch of warlords. So think of Lord of the Rings style. Like remember, there's a bunch of different orc commanders, and they're all trying to fight for territory. So they destroy their world. Like you're literally living with a dictator. And what do dictators do? They just obliterate anything. So it's literally becoming the survival of the fittest between each class of particular demon. So you have lower levels, you have middle, small, medium, medium, large. So it's literally become a battle royale, so to speak, like almost like Hollows were. Remember with the Menos Grandes, like, oh yeah, we just start eating each other until we become big. It's a survival of the fittest type of thing. So I understood it when you really, because that's what I'm saying, bro. It's like this anime made the human world relevant. So it came with some checks and balances that you can't ignore.
Yeah,
Like,
I think to your point, Tim. Like one thing I will say is like while I did enjoy the inclusion of the human characters, I think having them play an active part in all 8 episodes was good. I wasn't really a huge fan of the demon immigrant storyline. Like I understand the whole like the tier system, but this whole thing of like we're just looking for refuge. I'm like looking for refuge to do what? Like we don't know what the ecosystem is in your world. So like I understand that not all of you guys are violent towards humans, but why would you want to come stay in the human world other than refuge? What are you going to
but
do? Get a
then see,
job?
that's one of the things about desperation, bro. You're just looking for anything that's better, like hopelessness in a sense. Yeah, it's either you
Yeah.
can't breathe the air where you are, and if you do go topside, here comes a higher level, just gonna menos
Gun you
grande
down.
eat you, just eat you. So like yeah, like that's what I said, the hopelessness. Because like to be honest, like even the rabbit, like the rabbit escaped that world. He's like, but then he realized that was the only choice. That was
Mm.
the only choice. Because to be honest, yeah, you know those ghetto projects, they probably was loving that. At least they could breathe. They could
Yeah,
raise
no,
their kids, and like I said, they could raise their kids and just live in the shadows.
yeah,
Now, depending what he was trying to do when he opened up both of the worlds, like I saw it from one angle, but then I also saw the madness in it.
yeah. I'm like
It's like
it was almost like optimistic to the point of futile.
insanity.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you think was gonna happen once you got them all topside? Like, of course they're gonna get gunned down. Like, what are you talking about? Like, don't be naive.
But then he also saw the long term where, okay, you know, if there's a free for all, at least the world that I hated originally, which is his human self, gets
Mhm.
obliterated and then they could just live on and be whatever they want to be. But at least I guess he looks at it, he kind of looks like himself, like almost like Sparta. Sparta did this to us, so let me do my own version to kind of
At least start the
even the
conversation.
score in a sense.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah.
but like I said,
Mhm,
it's optimism to the point of insanity. So I
mhm,
kind of understood it, and because it kind of goes with along the Allison in Wonderland theme, insanity.
mhm.
So like I said, bro, like it's yeah, there were some parts that it was just yeah, I wouldn't have done that, but it got season 2 is greenlit, and you know the numbers are still growing for the anime, so that's what they care about. At the end of the day, they won. The sales are up. They won. So now I hope, yes, you know, due to some honest feedback, I hope they improve some things for 2, because especially the way how 2 is going to look. Well, of course, Virgil sold separately, so they're already going to give us, oh yeah, you know, Virgil's going to be in it. Relax, guys.
They'll probably drop a Virgil
But
prequel at this at the
but
rate they're going.
my thing about it is, so is Mundus technically going to be the next like villain because you hinted the villain from 2 next to Kevin Conroy. So I think it's going to be kind of like they're going to be using elements of 1 and 2 together in a sense. So like I said, they're using these anime adaptations, they're using familiar elements to build their own universe, and honestly, ain't really nothing you could do about it.
Yeah, I do
But
think
just
this sorry, inevitably leads to a reboot of the Devil May Cry game again.
yes,
Like,
that's what
I
I
think
think it
that's
is.
clear. Like, they're gonna do this again. They're gonna
Yeah.
restart this whole
Because like I
IP.
said, bro, they Capcom has realized they've written themselves into a hole. And then, you know, to your point, George, you've said it even for some of their other properties, just reboot it. Just reboot it and do it better. Now,
Oh, we
yes, you
can't.
know, if this
Sorry, we can't
reboot
hear you.
comes, if this reboot comes,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, if this reboot comes, do Lady better and do her justice, please. That's all I say.
Yeah, lady.
Actually, all the characters, like whoever you decide to bring in, do them justice, bro. Just do them justice. Don't hype us up just for them to be cutscenes later down the line. That's all I'm saying.
I, I get what you're saying. I just nah, man. There's a lot of the rabbit hires a bunch of dudes for what? Was he trying to feed the sword in the beginning of the episode? And then he guns down slices everybody with force edge. Why didn't you just show up and get the blade?
I mean,
'Cause he's crazy.
it's theatrics, bro. It's
Yeah,
theatrics.
He
yeah.
even said he's like, the human being's desire for bloodshed. You know, like he's making fun of like the humankind's like desire for greed and
Mhm.
murder and gain, essentially.
Okay, okay. So that's why he did it. Okay.
That's what it
I mean, yeah,
seems to be.
But
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
bro, he
Again,
is showing the evil side of humanity.
I
It's
just
like,
Mhm.
don't. The rabbit was great. He was menacing. Um, did I like the uh CIA level demon world? Okay, it makes sense. I'll tolerate it. Was I sold on every person? If they're gonna go against demons, they're gonna go against God's side and weaponizing it. I think that's just a favorable um outlook on people who
It
had a
makes
bad
sense.
experience.
It makes sense. Because even
People, it makes sense for people who had a bad experience
to be
with.
honest, like, all right, let's give a Mortal Kombat example. If Liu Kang did not make this world, okay, Earth Realm over here and fairy tale creatures over here in Outworld, if the special forces were involved, they would have been just like them. Oh, Jax
Yeah.
volunteered. Jax volunteered. There was no trauma. He didn't get his arms blown off. He would have volunteered. Oh, yeah, give me a mechanized this and that. Sonya uses whatever. I would have felt like, all right, if humans are, oh yeah, we're gonna face these creatures in Outworld, we need to be geared up. That would have been exactly how they would have been. Because it makes sense. Like, how do you deal with the supernatural? And to be honest, like even the Christian side of it, like I understood it because there's been many fairy tale like outtellings of like, the true meaning of the Christian crusades was war against the supernatural, like
It
killing
was
fairy tale
weaponized
creatures.
religion. Weaponized
Yes.
religion.
So like I understood those elements, bro. Like and that's the same, bro. This series involves the human element to it. So like there's some things that they had to curve to make sense. No more islands. No more bloodborne cities. And you just had to really make the best of it the best way possible.
All right, so gentlemen, closing thoughts because it looks like my laptop is about to give up the ghost.
Yeah.
Any
Hopefully
last
they do
sentences
better
before
for
we go?
season 2. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, Frank, any closing thoughts?
It's flatline for me.
Okay.
Can't be redeemed. I mean, again, I enjoyed it a lot, but I'm more of a
The
casual viewer.
animation
So
was great. Wasn't stale like the first Devil May Cry cartoon. Do I like the voice actor for Devil May Cry 1 versus even though it's Johnny Young Bosch, I'm like, it's just saturated everywhere, dog. Like I get it. But at the same time, Lord, you is these Hollywood HBO WB decisions, man. I'm tired of it, man. Like I'm like now I'm just gonna like you making me turn art into a battle rap. Now I'm like, yo, I already got a 16 chapter ready for Addy Shankar just to show you how it was done. You know what I'm saying? And if I don't want to, you want to turn me to Jadakiss versus Dipset, then that's what's gonna be. I'll find a way to get the money, man. Cause I can't take it anymore. But yeah, flatline for me, man.
okay.
Yep. I
Well,
stand by it.
well, we love to know what people think in the comments. Are you Team Tim or Team Jory?
Three hippo butt cheeks.
I have pros and cons.
3 hippo butt cheeks out of 5, dog. 3 hippo butt cheeks out of 5.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Press Start Select podcast.
How you going to destroy
I
my
am
face?
Antonius the Gamer, Super SS rank, Mikkel
DMC.
Smith. Enjoy y'all weeks. Till next time.